Hi guys, welcome back. It's been a long time, about a year and a half. And the last time Johnny was on, I have no idea. So sorry for taking such a long break, but we felt like it was worth it to get together for the best of the decade video, right?
Hello everyone. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I really don't remember last time we did a video, but I do remember a couple years ago we did like best of 2017. I remember that like really specifically. And a couple years later, here we are. We're doing another list. And yeah, we thought this was a good opportunity to kind of come back for at least this video. Hopefully we'll have a bit of a comeback in the waiting on us. But we're gonna get this out, and basically we're just thinking about the last 10 years. It's been really wild, especially for me, because I've kind of become like an adult this decade. And
your movie tastes have definitely changed. Like you went from just watching them to being like a critic in a way.
Yeah, and I've studied film at school, and I've expanded my tastes and everything. I remember one movie in particular, which is on my list, watching it in theaters like 5 years ago, and like it blowing my mind, and like really like being like, oh, so these are other types of movies that I can watch, and like they're not just
right
The Dark Knight or like whatever else. But so yeah, this is gonna be interesting, kind of see how Dan and I compare. And this is my list is kind of a combination of favorites and like objectively like amazing films that are like pretty much pitch perfect throughout. And just some of the movies that from this entire decade that I just keep going back to and watching, and like that really stick out in my mind and I think are worth mentioning, and maybe some more underrated ones that a lot of people haven't seen or maybe you haven't gotten to yet that I just kind of want to spotlight. So I don't know what your...
Mine is definitely a mixture of like just how I personally feel about it, as well as an objective look at it that every critic would probably agree is a good movie. It will be interesting too, because we have reviews up for some of these movies, because we started our channel early 2016, like March or April, I would say March 2016. So it's been about 3.5, almost 4 years. And the first half of the decade or plus, we didn't have a channel, so we didn't talk about them. We talked about them personally, but so I guess we can kind of jump in. Now I have 10, I wish this was a top 12 because I wouldn't have to cut 2 out, but I have a top 10 list. And I have like 17 honorable mentions that we could kind of like run through. Do you have any honorable mentions?
I have a ton. Well, the thing is, okay, so honestly, as I'm speaking now, my list is not completely solidified.
Yeah,
but I basically know what's on it.
I went through Wikipedia every Academy Award since 2010 to now.
Jeez.
Just to see movies that might jog my memory. I went and looked at tons of lists online just to jog my memory.
Yeah, I definitely have a slew of movies that I like just want to mention. Be like, hey, this movie's really fucking good. Go check it out. It's definitely worth watching or revisiting if you haven't seen it in a few years. So.
All right, so I don't want Johnny to look at my list while I'm reading them. I'm going to do my honorable mentions first.
Okay.
And I know some of these are probably in his top 3, and he's going to be like, what the hell? But all right, so my honorable mentions. I have 18.
Okay.
And you can mention them or talk about them for a second if you want, or we can just get the
right.
First Man, I loved First Man.
Yeah.
A great honorable mention. Wonder Woman, great movie. Could have been in my top 10, but not quite. The next 2 you're going to hate them, but The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker. I've gotten really into Star Wars the last couple of years, and they mean a lot to me personally. Edge of Tomorrow. Loved Edge of Tomorrow, and I wish they made a sequel for that. Interstellar. The next 2 is like a 2-pack because you can't really separate them. Infinity War and Endgame, which, again, from a critical eye, maybe not the best, but they're actually pretty good movies in general, and they just mean a lot to the last 10 years of films, really. The Revenant. Love The Revenant.
That was super good.
Spotlight, which we watched together in the theater. Love that movie.
Yeah, I remember that specifically, yeah.
This one you're going to hate. Blade Runner 2049.
Wow.
Which I was going to put it, but I was just like, I didn't have no spot in my top 10. Skyfall, loved. La La Land, really liked. Harry Potter, the last one. Again, it was an okay movie, but just, again, I remember that series since I was a little kid, so I had to include it because it was the end of that whole thing. Dallas Buyers Club, love that. Okja just made me think about some stuff, outside of just the movie. I thought about it afterwards. Bridesmaids was a really cool comedy that came out. I really like that one.
A long time ago.
And the last one, which I had to take out of my list, I literally flipped before we started filming. I flipped this with another movie. It was actually the whole series. It was the Planet of the Apes trilogy.
Ooh.
Which I had it in there.
I can't believe you left
I just switched it, and I kind of feel bad that I switched it, but I had to.
Okay. So this is hard because, like I said, I haven't totally solidified what my solid top 10 is, but I have a bunch of movies I can think of that I just want to mention. So First Man, like you said, Ryan Gosling is amazing. Love Damien Chazelle. Speaking of Damien Chazelle, La La Land,
Yep.
I would definitely put up there.
Yeah, 2 of those are on mine.
I've seen that movie like 5 or 6 times, never get tired of it. A bunch of foreign films that I just have only seen once or twice, so I can't totally like put them in my top 10, but stuff like Cold War, which came out last year, which I loved, black and white. The Handmaiden by Park Chan-wook is amazing. Parasite, which just came out this year, which I know a lot of people will probably put that in their top 10 just because it's one of the best reviewed movies like of all time. And it's definitely going to be competing like all award season, but I would definitely put that up there. Moonlight, of course, which probably, I'm trying to think, might be the best picture winner of the decade of all the ones that have happened. Certainly better than Green Book. I'd say also Hereditary, amazing, like best horror film, not maybe the best, but like my favorite. I think that I've seen it, like one that scared me or bothered me the most. Baby Driver, so much fun. Planet of the Apes movies, as you said, especially the last one, I think would be like the best.
Honorable mention.
Yeah,
Woo.
and I think that too. I think that'll pretty much cover. Oh, I also want to mention Incendie, which is a Denis Villeneuve film. It came out in 2010. Super good. Really, I think he's gotten so big now that a lot of people kind of forget, like especially his foreign language stuff. Definitely go check that out because it's really amazing. I just rewatched it recently and it still really holds up. So, as we're getting into the actual top 10, do you have any particular order, alphabetical? Did you pick like a single one and then like create a list underneath that, or how did you go about it?
Yeah, we kind of discussed coming up with like our favorite of the decade and then making like 9 after that, but I just, there wasn't any particular one I could pick over the others for whatever reason.
It is hard to,
it's very difficult
to order them.
Because it depends also on the day. Like a week from now, I could be like, oh, well, no, I like this other one.
That's true, yeah.
Do you want to go 1 for 1? Or?
Yeah, we can go 1 for 1. Although I do think I have one that I would put like as my one.
Ooh.
But we can go, yeah. I mean, I'll just go whatever you want to do.
You do one first and then I'll read mine.
Okay, so I'm going to start from the bottom, so to speak, as far as like, these first couple were ones that were just, because I have like 8 or 7 that I'm like, okay, these are definitely in the top 10. And then the last few, it was so hard to pick. But for one of them, I'm going to say Silence by Martin Scorsese, which came out about 3 years ago. I read the book, which is incredible. I read that right before it came out, and then the movie was a perfect adaptation, in my opinion. I know he had tried to make it for a long time. He finally did, and it didn't have much like success financially, but it was well reviewed, but no one talked about it. It got nominated for like 1 Oscar somehow, and it was just really an incredible, like, brutal movie about religious persecution in Japan, and Liam Neeson and Andrew Garfield and Adam Driver were all amazing, and the cinematography is some of the best of the decade for sure. Just a really incredible, like, overlooked masterpiece, I think, and I revisited it recently and it blew my mind even more than the first time. So
We saw that in theaters and I did not see it on any of the lists that I came across, and that's an honorable mention to me.
okay, good.
Which I just forgot.
Yeah.
My first one is going to be, again, my list is probably going to be more like tentpole, like big budget movies, and Johnny's is going to be, he's seen, like 3 or 4 times the amount of movies I have. The first one, but I still think it holds up over the decade, is Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it was very original. They took a huge leap of faith making this. It didn't star Chris Hemsworth or Robert Downey Jr. or, Chris Evans. It was a completely, not unknown cast, but very little compared to those guys. And they've all become, big stars. And I think it was pretty original and very, very funny, and it added to the MCU much more than before the movie came out.
Yeah, I like that one. I mean, it's definitely one of my favorite blockbusters for sure.
Yeah.
And I even prefer the second one, actually, which I know a lot of people don't. But so for my next movie, I'm going to go with Drive by Nicholas Winding Refn, which came out pretty much the beginning of the decade. I think it was 2011, and I vividly remember Dan owned the Blu-ray, and he had it. This is when we lived together in the same house, and I just grabbed it from him. I was a freshman in high school. I watched it, and I was just like, oh my god, this is like. And I knew about Ryan Gosling. I was like, oh, he's like this like pretty boy heartthrob, and he completely plays against type in this movie, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And that was just one of the very first movies I remember, especially in this decade, but in my life in general, where I was like, this is like, it's like an art house film. Like, it's more that leaning than, something like Fast and Furious, where I think there was even someone tried to sue the makers of the movie because they thought that it was like the advertising was misleading and stuff. But that movie, the soundtrack's incredible. I still listen to songs from that soundtrack. I love Gosling in that movie. Perfect cinematography, perfect direction.
Better than Baby Driver, in my opinion.
Better than Baby Driver, even though Baby Driver's still really awesome. That's my next pick.
A couple of these might surprise Johnny, so I'm just going to jump into the ones that won't because I want to see his reaction later. This one, The Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay, no, it's definitely. I probably thought it was an honorable mention for me too.
Man, I love that freaking movie. Did we see that news together?
We did.
We did, with my friend, I think. And I was laughing in that movie harder than I've literally probably ever laughed at a movie. Which, the comedic aspects were just hilarious.
Yeah.
I absolutely love, Leo, obviously. Jonah Hill played a unusual character for him, and it really worked.
My next pick. Now, this is actually a movie. It's so strange that I'm going with this movie because when it first came out, I kind of had mixed-ish feelings about it, but generally liked it. And every time I've watched it, I've seen it like 5 or 6 times now, and every time I watch it, I like it more and more. Just watched it recently, a couple weeks ago, and it finally hit like the 5 out of 5 like masterpiece level for me. And it's Interstellar.
Oh, God! That was on my freaking honorable
By Christopher Nolan, and this came out 5 years ago, and again, all these movies stick out to me very vividly, and we saw this opening night in a regular theater, went back the very next night to see it in IMAX, and just like an amazing like movie-going experience, but I had issues with the writing, like so much exposition, and like it felt kind of awkward, and the third act has been kind of divisive with how it completely goes like really like crazy and like fantastic. But the more I watch it, the more emotional it makes me. I probably cry more during this movie. I'm a crier during movies. If anything emotional happens, I'm pretty much done for. This movie makes me cry more than any other movie that I have seen. And it just, Matthew McConaughey's performance is amazing.
That's his best performance, I think, to me. Well, Dallas Buyers Club, maybe.
They're
next
neck and neck. He carries that movie emotionally, and the supporting cast is really great. The visual effects are out of this world. Won the Oscars for that. Cinematography is amazing. It's just a really fun, like, epic adventure film. I'm a sucker for anything in space, and just one of the best blockbusters of the decade, without a question.
And I think I didn't include that because I haven't seen it in a few years, and I kind of didn't forget, but it's not like fresh on my mind. And also, I have another Christopher Nolan movie on my list, and I didn't want to.
You're not the only one.
I didn't want to not include multiple ones by the same director, but at the same time, I don't care. Like I would have.
It definitely happened for me too.
Obviously, it's gonna be Inception.
Yeah.
That movie was just, whoo, man. That he does a great job of touching on ideas that, obviously, with Tenet, we've seen the prologue for that or whatever it's called.
Oh my god, yeah.
Which just seems like it's a crazy idea, but all his movies touch on like strange ideas that you're like, holy crap, how would you pull this together? And not only does he pull it together, he makes it amazing. Again, Leonardo DiCaprio. I have The Revenant on my honorable mentions list. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, just the whole crew, man, and just the fact that you can Tom Hardy, and you go into all these different levels, and like it keeps going deeper and deeper than you think it's going to. And the idea at the end where they kind of leave you hanging, where you're like not sure, and you just have to kind of make up your own mind.
Yeah,
I think that's just like spot on.
Yeah,
I mean, just perfect.
Right, and since it's my turn now, I'm just gonna say Inception, Christopher Nolan, and this is another one I vividly remember watching opening night, me and him together with his girlfriend at the time, now his wife.
Now this is back also. This was 2010.
Yes,
like early 2010.
July.
Or yeah, mid 2010, and. This was not a Thursday night at 8 o'clock. This was a Friday midnight old school
packed showing.
Me and Johnny are enthralled, and I look over and my wife is sleeping.
Yeah. And so, but no, I just like everything about that movie. And this is Christopher Nolan coming off The Dark Knight. This was his next movie. And so, The Dark Knight is like the biggest movie ever. And they give him a blank check, like, do whatever you want. Completely original concept. He wrote it himself. And it was nominated for Best Picture. I don't know how he didn't get nominated for directing. I mean, it's such an incredible, intricate story that he has to weave. I mean, literally levels to the story.
Yep.
And yeah, just mind-blowing. I mean, what else can you say? I think it's just a trademark Nolan movie.
Yeah, that's
and a lot of people, look back and think, Zero Gravity, the spinning hallway fight scene.
That was incredible.
The mountains and everything else, and Paris folding on top of itself. It's just so many iconic moments. I love going back and revisiting that movie. It's like, for me, that's like a Raiders of the Lost Ark, or like, for some people like Star Wars. Like for me, growing up, I go back and watch that, and like every time it blows me away.
Yeah. That is a terrific. That outside of The Dark Knight, that's his like signature movie.
Yeah,
to me.
I agree. Yeah.
The next one, I'm gonna start getting into some more lighter stuff here, I guess. The Incredibles 2. Johnny's gonna be like,
What the?
Yeah. I know Johnny's gonna be like, what the fuck?
I'm baffled.
I.
It's not even the best animated movie. Is it? Like,
Oh no. Well,
oh.
that was or is such a good movie to me. It builds on the first one perfectly. I hate retreaded movies to where they use the same concept and characters and actors and just don't do anything original. This was original. It built on the first one. It was a perfect sequel, in my opinion. I was laughing so hard in this movie, which that's a big thing, I guess, in mine. I just like comedies or comedic aspects to films. Pixar, which I think Pixar, looking back, has kind of fallen off a little bit just in general. But that one was a home run for me, and I think they just, I don't know, they did a good job.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, it's definitely it's like a really good like animated sequel.
Yeah.
Coming so long after the original. My next pick is a Denis Villeneuve film. I already mentioned him once, but Arrival.
Oh,
I'm a sucker for science fiction. As you can tell, this is I think the third sci-fi movie on my top 10 that I've listed. It won't be the last. But yeah, Villeneuve, I just wrote an article for Inside the Film Room. You can go check it out on my Twitter or the website. But basically, he was the director of the decade, in my opinion. Just his trajectory of his career. And Arrival was his most successful movie to date. I mean, yeah, financially and critically. Got nominated for like 8 Oscars. And I remember going into that movie, you know, we saw it together, opening night, and I knew nothing about it. I mean, I knew that Amy Adams was in it. I knew there's some alien stuff going on, but it was so intellectually like stimulating and such a smart like story, and the way it was edited, like weaved together. The performances are so good. On top of that, and it has that emotional core. Thanks to Amy Adams, I think her performance like makes it happen. But the score is incredible. Johan Johansson's score. Cinematography is amazing. And yeah, it's mind-blowing, of course, at the end. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it definitely has a really satisfying narrative, and it's not your typical science fiction movie, not your typical alien movie.
yeah.
And yeah, so I definitely, without question, definitely up there for me.
I think that's like an honorable mention I have written down on the other side of my paper, but I didn't include in my top 10, but I like movies that really engross me in and like make me feel like I'm in the story, and that movie makes me feel really small. I'm like, oh, if this was like real, like this is how it would be.
Yeah.
And who knew like alien linguistics would be like so interesting, because a lot didn't happen. Like it's not like the Fast and the Furious, you know what I mean? Like where stuff is happening all the time.
It's very grounded, yeah.
It was very grounded, and you never really. Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's a great movie.
Yeah.
All right, my next one is Johnny's not going to have this on his list. American Sniper.
What in the hell?
What?
I'm about to boycott this video.
What? American Sniper was great, man.
Oh my god, I cannot believe it.
I really like that movie. Clint Eastwood has, man, he's like hit or miss probably.
Yeah, definitely on the downhill.
Yeah. But either way, I really liked it. I like movies that make me think, and I guess this one, I'm just like a sucker for like patriotic stuff. But it definitely touches on like not the horrors of war. It doesn't dig deep like that, but like just the things that personally happen to people when they go to war, and it touches on. It's not just a straight like, oh, this guy's a hero. Like it kind of touches on. He might be bad sometimes, might be good sometimes, and it really made me think after the movie like it's a whole generation of people that have been touched on both sides of the whatever conflicts are going on in the world, and you're not always a hero or a bad guy. Sometimes it's muddled in the middle, and it definitely made me feel patriotic when I left the movie, and also like sad for all the people that have had like serious injuries or even been killed, obviously, which is like the worst thing there. So that kind of touched on that. I was gonna try to pick one where I thought Johnny might have. Do you mind if I go next? Because you might have this on the list.
Sure, why not?
If you don't have this on the list, I'm gonna be shocked. Level 10.
Okay.
Whiplash?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh god, okay. I was so worried that you wouldn't have it. That movie introduced me to. I don't think I had seen Miles Teller before that. Maybe, but probably not. And just Johnny had watched it before, and he was like, "You guys got to watch this movie." And I watched it with our parents and him, and
yeah.
And right when it started, I was like, "Wow, man, this is intense." And it might be the most intense acting ever, to where it makes you feel uncomfortable. From
Yeah, I mean, J.K. Simmons' performance. I mean, he won the Oscar. I mean, it's one of the best performances ever for me. I mean, it's so real, but he like walks the line, because a lot of the stuff he says is like absurd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? His insults and his, you know, depraved language that he uses, but he makes it real, and he has an emotional like core to it as well. And Miles Teller, I think he got overlooked as far as his performance goes, because he goes literally toe to toe, head to head with him, and it's one of the best conflicts in cinema for me. I mean, the perfect protagonist versus like the perfect, you know, villain, so to speak, and Miles Teller's character Andrew, he's not perfect.
No.
He's kind of an asshole. He's arrogant. He's driven, and willing to do anything to like reach his goals, and I think that's what makes it so interesting. I'll just keep talking about it a little bit more because that is on my list as well. Whiplash, Damien Chazelle. That was the first movie of his first big movie, and it just got so much attention, and he really blew up after that. And that was the movie I said earlier in the video. One of the movies that I remember seeing in theaters and it like completely changing what I thought about movies in a way. Because before that, it was a lot of like The Dark Knight and Inception and stuff like that. But this one, it was kind of like, oh, like this is
a movie.
This is like what can happen with acting. My next film is Paul Thomas Anderson's Phantom Thread, which Dan hasn't even seen.
Haven't seen.
And this movie came out a couple years ago, and when we did our Best of 2017 video, it wasn't on my list because I hadn't been able to see it yet, actually. I didn't get to see it till January. But that movie is one I just rewatched actually last week, and it is such a bizarre, unique, and just incredibly like intimate and kind of absurd in a way, like romance with Daniel Day-Lewis, of course, who best actor of all time, in his supposedly last role, and Vicky Krieps, who plays against him, and they have their little romance, and it's just so like warm and cozy for me to watch that movie. It takes place basically in like one or two houses in England, and it's just, if you haven't seen it, you need to go watch it ASAP. I'm not going to spoil anything because there are elements of it that are surprising, kind of shocking. But it paints an interesting romance that is not like anything that you see typically. Of course, with Paul Thomas Anderson, you always get something that's atypical. But the cinematography is incredible. The score by Johnny Greenwood is one of the best of the decade, probably top 5 for me. It's music to my ears, obviously. And yeah, definitely go watch it if you haven't.
Yeah, I've been.
Kicks ass.
Anytime Johnny comes over, I'm like, oh, bring 1 or 2 movies, and like that's always one of them, but we never watch it.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is The Social Network. Hey, from 2010. It's weird to look back now because that came out like not that far after Facebook was created. You know what I mean? So like it's weird that they did a movie like kind of in the moment of what was actually happening, not too in the far past from that. But Jesse Eisenberg was great in that movie. Andrew Garfield was kind of introduced to mass audiences there, and went on to be Spider-Man, obviously. I just remember watching that movie in the theater, and it was just like, this is a good movie. Like I just remember it was just cool to see how it literally was created in a dorm room all the way up to being one of the biggest companies in the world, and the kind of the struggles and how Mark Zuckerberg and other people were assholes at times and have a point at times and when they're getting sued and stuff like that. But yeah, it was shot very, very well, and the music in that still, I can hear, if I hear that song, I already know it's from.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's one where I was really young when it came out, obviously. Well, not really young. I was kind of at the end of middle school, was about to start high school, and
That's young.
yeah, it was like Facebook was like really blowing up at that point, and it was in the moment like of history. Yeah, and it should be in my honorable mentions. I didn't mention it, but it definitely is one of the best films of the decade. I haven't seen it in a long time. I need to go back and watch it. I know it's incredible. It's just, I don't know why I haven't. I would love to see a sequel with everything that's going on now. I think that'd be interesting. But my next movie is, it's so hard. I mean, this is not necessarily third place or whatever, but Mad Max Fury Road. Yeah, I mean, what else can be said that hasn't been said? It's the best action film ever made, people. Bottom line, no questions asked. Like, George Miller coming back after making Babe the Pig and Happy Feet 2, like,
Yeah.
comes back to this franchise 30 years after the fact, and, I mean, he makes the best action movie ever made. It's just so mind-blowing to me, because this came out, like, 4.5 years ago, and to have lived through seeing this movie, I saw it in theaters opening night, Thursday night showing with one of my good friends from high school, and I didn't know what to expect. I'd never seen any Mad Max movies, but this thing was, it almost shocked, like I was in shock afterwards because I was like not processing it, and then Dan and I went to go see it, and he was kind of shocked, and I was like loving it more, and then I wish I had seen it more times in theaters, honestly, but after the fact, revisiting it many times on Blu-ray, I mean, every time it doesn't fail to blow my mind with just the cinematography and the score from Junkie XL, which is like his magnum opus. Like, he's never made anything that even compares to that. And just the stunts are insane, and it all comes together perfectly. And the story is simple, but told extremely well. And I mean, it's one of those movies that is literally like perfect. I wouldn't change anything about it. So
Yeah, well, I remember seeing that in theaters, and I'm like, I don't want to say I wasn't impressed because I understood it was a good movie, but like I just didn't like it. And then when we rewatched it within the last like year or so, I was like, okay, this is good. It's still not one of my favorite movies, but it's okay.
It is unreal. I could put that on every day and never get tired of it, probably.
We probably got to hurry up. I don't know how much time we have left. All right, my next one is Toy Story 3.
Oh, okay.
It came out in 2010.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah, it came out in 2010.
Ugh.
I shouldn't hate it. I hate Toy Story 4. This is the end of Toy Story to me. I don't want to see Toy Story 4. It's not canon to me at all. Just a personal decision. That movie, man, that got you like good. At the end, you were like crying.
Yeah.
Not to spoil anything, even though it's 10 years old almost. It was just the perfect wrap up to me. You got to see those characters that you'd seen since you were a little kid: Woody, Buzz, Jesse, Rex, Potato Head, everybody. Bullseye, everybody. And it just, the ending just was like, man, this is perfect. And I remember that was like a cry moment. Everybody in the theaters was like crying as when that ended. And I know, Johnny, you were about the same age, I guess, when we saw like Social Network, but you liked this more obviously than Social Network at the time.
Yeah, no, it was definitely, I remember seeing it. I saw it a couple times that summer, and it was just, yeah. I mean, I grew up with those characters and got to see the end in theaters, and it was just, it is a perfect animated movie, and it's a perfect conclusion to that story.
Yeah.
That's now being continued to be told.
For no reason.
Disney loves to do that, but
terrible Toy Story 4. Oh my lord.
I liked it. Anyway, on to my next pick. We're almost done. No surprise to anyone that knows me. Blade Runner 2049. Yeah. Best science fiction movie of all time for my money. I saw this movie. I didn't have to pay due to circumstances, fortunately, but I saw this movie 6 times in theaters.
Whoa!
That's my all-time record. I've never seen a movie more than that in theaters. And since then, I've seen it like 7 or 8 more times. I've seen this movie 13 or 14 times in the last 2 years. And it's a miracle of a movie. It's a perfect sequel and continuation of a movie that came out in 1982. That's a classic that's renowned by everyone. And it doesn't destroy anything in that. It just expands it and develops everything. It feels organic. Harrison Ford comes back. He delivers the best performance that he's done in like years and years. Ryan Gosling's incredible. Introduced us to people like Ana de Armas, who's blowing up more now with Knives Out. It's just visually one of the best films ever made. Roger Deakins won for cinematography, won the Oscar, visual effects Oscar. Production design is through the roof. It's filmed as a masterpiece for now. He's my favorite director right now until Dune comes out next year, which cannot wait.
Yeah, that was an honorable mention, which I could have put in my top 10, but it just didn't make it, I guess. But I really, really liked the movie, and I think it expanded on the first, just like I said, Incredibles 2. It didn't retread anything. It just built on what the existing world was, which is what you're supposed to do in sequels. My next one is, and has actor that was in honorable mention, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Really?
Yeah.
Over Fallout?
Yeah.
Huh.
Ghost Protocol to me just is iconic when they're in Dubai and Tom Cruise is at his height and he's running through the streets and the sandstorm comes in. It's so beautiful to look at. It's such high energy.
Yeah.
All the stunts are real. All those movies are good, but I had to pick one, and I felt like that was the start of the new wave, not the older ones. It was like kind of separated.
Right.
So that's why I picked that one. And I just love it, man. That's like Mad Max to Johnny. Like I could watch that anytime.
Well, I will say, I'm gonna hop on that real quick. Honorable mention to Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, Fallout. All those films are incredible. Action masterpieces. As I said, I could put any of those on any day of the week, and I would have fun with them. They're incredible movies. I love Tom Cruise. I'm a big fan of him. Obviously, doing all his own stunts. Fallout to me is the masterpiece of those. Like that's almost the same as Fury Road for me. I could watch it all day, every day. Never get tired of it. I guess I'll do my number one.
Yeah, go ahead and do number one.
Okay, so my number one pick. This is the number one, so to speak.
Oh Jesus, more than Blade Runner.
I love Blade Runner, but The Tree of Life by Terrence Malick came out in 2011, won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, and it was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director. It is a movie I didn't see until just a year or two ago when I started studying film at school.
I haven't seen it. But.
And the reason it's my number one is because there's never ever been a movie quite like this one. It's Terrence Malick. If anyone knows Malick, it's him, distilling all of his style and making this great grand epic of like the entire universe, and also telling the story of this small family living in like 1950s rural Texas. And it blew my mind the first time I saw it. It's blown my mind the last couple times I've seen it. And I'm not gonna say too much about it. I think everyone should see this movie once in their life because it's like, for me, it's like a religious experience almost. Like taking all these images and all these sounds and emotions and wrapping it all into this like incredible package that is Malick's masterpiece for me. I still love The Thin Red Line and some of his other movies, but
man, I need to watch this.
That's the movie, not just movie of the decade for me, but one of the movies of all time for me.
All right, my last one, I didn't do this intentionally. It's actually the newest one, and it came out like 2 months ago.
I'm so confused. What is this?
Came out 2 months ago, John.
In October? I have no idea. What is it?
It's Joker!
Oh my god. Holy hell.
I'm surprised you didn't mention Joker at all. Now, you could argue if this is top 10 or not, and I had it as an honorable mention, but I put it in my top 10 because, again, it touches on like real life stuff in a way that...
That's true.
But in a comic way, but not comedic. I don't mean comedic. I mean like in a comic book world.
That's interesting.
But it touches on a lot of like very good points, and you could seriously watch this movie and put it into real world things, and it would make sense 100%. I was like, why the heck are they making a Joker movie? I don't want to see anybody else's Joker ever. And then this movie came out, and I'm like, holy moly! Like, how can I flip a switch in 2 hours and be like, I'm so glad they made this movie?
Right.
It wasn't about Batman. It wasn't about like batarangs and Batmobile and crap like that. It was like based in reality in a way. It was 100% authentic. Joaquin Phoenix is just insane. Who's one of probably a top 10 actor of the decade.
Yeah, he's top 5, top 3, top 1.
Yeah, he's just insane in this movie. And he dove deep, and I honestly believed in what he was doing.
Yeah.
And man, it was a great.
No, I mean that's a really good pick. I mean it touches on like.
And that's not my top like Johnny did his top at the end. That was just a top 10.
Yeah, but it's definitely like touches on mental health and healthcare system and capitalism and all this other stuff. And no, it's an interesting pick. I think that's good, and even just like other movies like Parasite that also touch on economics and social injustice and things like that. Like it's interesting that they took this comic book movie vehicle and made it about something that actually is relevant and important. Yeah, and it matters. And Joaquin Phoenix probably going to win the Oscar, deserves to win an Oscar.
I hope he does, because that would make
this year or not.
Yeah, that would give more credibility to these types of movies, I guess, if you want to say, because they were certainly like, why are they making this?
Yeah. Do you want to see a sequel with Joaquin and Todd Phillips if they were to do it?
In a way, yes, but in a way, no.
Yeah, I feel that.
I feel like if they go deeper, it needs to be like, okay, now here's Batman and here's... But not like cartoony Batman.
That's tough, yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be tough. Especially because at the end, they introduced the canon of, this is the parents now, which I thought was a perfect scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that was our top 10 and our honorable mentions for the decade.
What a decade.
Yeah, I'm sure we missed some stuff. And maybe going into this new decade, we'll maybe redo our page and come out with some new stuff and maybe get energized for that to go into the next decade of movies.
2020 is going to be huge.
Yeah.
There's a Christopher Nolan, Villeneuve, Dune, Wonder Woman, Black Widow, all these big movies. James Bond, Daniel Craig's doing his last movie, so there's gonna be a ton of stuff happening. I'm really excited. I just graduated from college, so that's done. But so I got to figure out where I'm gonna be living, what I'm gonna be doing for work. But I'm super excited to start writing and seeing some of these new movies and just all the stuff that's happened the last 10 years. It's definitely been like life-changing, obviously, but for me specifically with movies and just growing and writing about them and watching them, it's just been pretty insane. So thank you for everyone that has supported us in the last few years. This channel started in March 2016.
Yeah, Johnny was like, looking back at the old videos, he was like a fucking baby.
Yeah, it's almost 4 years later. I was in like my first year of college still when that was going down. So yeah, thank you guys for supporting us all these years with your likes and your subscribing to us and watching all of our videos, even if you aren't subscribing or liking, leaving comments and figuring out, you know, discussions and whatnot. So we appreciate all that support, and hopefully we can give you some more support back in the coming months and in this next year and decade and beyond. We'll see what happens.
And let us know what your top 10 are, honorable mentions or whatnot. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you again next year.